All right, so we just got done basically graphing these numbers to our actual score. And based on our graphs, we determined that the average score, that line, the regression, the trend line that we drew for average score was much closer to the actual score, both at the slope and at the y-intercept. Okay. Again, we were just looking for how accurate or how close we were to the actual the score of each team. Now, here's what I want you to do is so our first time we basically counted the number of winners we were able to predict. Average score was best. We looked at which one was better at determining the actual score by graphing these to the observed, and we figured out the average was better at that. There's also, what's another aspect of this data that we want to kind of monitor? That, we've talked about being able to predict winners and losers, being able to predict the score for each team. Now, what about how do we represent the distance or actually the margin of winning or the margin of these scores? How do you think we could do that? So for Chicago and Dallas, I want one number that I'm going to graph. I'm going to kind of do the same thing that I did. So actually, we're going to do it for this one. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these teams and divide it by the other. That'll give us an idea of what's the spread or what did we predict the margin of each team winning. So here's what we're going to do. In this column here, I'm going to get rid of this stuff. So select about 4, do 5. Do about 5 columns right after your actual score. Hit your right click, and then just put insert. And definitely, I don't want these. No fill. Okay. So for each of these games, what I'm going to do is so we're going to do the average score. So I'm going to say, I want this to equal. So I'm going to hit equals. I put an equal in there. Now it's an equation. I want to take this top team divided by the bottom team. Okay, everybody do that? And hit return. Okay, here is our metric. Basically what we're saying is on our predicted score, if we took a ratio of these two teams, we would predict Dallas would beat Chicago, or at least Chicago would only score 0.8, like 84% of what Dallas would. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to do this for all of these games. So here it would be equals, and so we're just doing the average score for this one. This divided by this. Okay, hit return. So here's the deal, is what you're going to do is you're going to do this for all of these. You're going to do this, so I'm going to take these, let's take these columns and let's just put them over there so we'll kind of know what we're doing. So I copied F through I, Command C, Control C. I'm going to hit Control V. And so basically we're going to do this for each column here, or at least you are. And you're going to do this tonight. So basically you're going to, and remember you can drag these functions. So if I go like this, I've done them for all of them now. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to do all these. And this is going to be tonight. What I want you to do is now we need to to update our templates because we got to figure out next week. Data never sleeps, people. It's always coming at you. Always got to be analyzing. So basically what I want you to do is using this index now that I've just shown you. So what we're doing is we're actually transforming the data. Is that I've taken 2 bits of information, and by dividing them by each other, now I have a ratio to each other. I'm kind of representing the spread of those 2 pieces of information with one number. And now we're going to use that number to look at the differences. Okay, so I want you to do this tonight. So tomorrow I want you to come prepared. Tomorrow, bring in basically I want you to do a graph. Just like we did, and I want to see it. And we'll determine which method is best at predicting this ratio. Right? You're going to compare everything to, oh, I forgot one. So we want the actual score too, right? So you're going to compare everything to this column here. And where you're going to do basically the same thing we did with scores, but now we're going to use these ratios here. It's going to be a lot easier to see as well. Okay, so let's stop there. Now what I want you to do, let me stop here.